صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير الضالين. I think we have here Brother Muhammad Qutaiba, yeah. Muhammad Qutaiba, you just registered for this week, right?
Yes. Last on the I think on the 6th of April.
Or have you managed to go through Microsoft Teams?
Yeah. I watched your first video, which is I think about introductory part, and where you explain how to write your assignment and paperwork. Only that part.
Okay, so you're clear about the assignments and what to do?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can watch the other recordings, yeah, and catch up with the topic, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Okay, so I would also like for you to just introduce yourself, maybe open your video for a while.
Yeah. Okay.
Because everyone else have introduced ourselves. Just state your name, and then what should we call you, where you're from, what's your background, why you choose IABF, and also what's your favorite movie.
First of all, my name is Muhammad Qutaiba, and I am from India.
Which part of India?
From Uttar Pradesh, and I graduated from the University of Darul Uloom Nadratul Ulama, which is very famous in our India. And my background is totally Sharia background. I haven't.
Is there any specialization in under Sharia that you did?
Yeah, fiqh and usul fiqh. So I didn't have a background of accounting and economics, so this is the first time I'm learning. Okay. And why I choose Islamic banking and finance, because I have heard about a lot about from my friends who did their masters from the same university. So they suggested me and they persuade me to do so. And I also heard that there will be a scope and there will be a lot in the long run for Islamic banking and finance. That's why I choose.
What do you think about the prospect of Islamic banking and finance in India?
I think there is a discussion going on to bring Islamic banking and finance, because I have heard a lot, but I don't think very early. In the long run, I think.
Okay. How about your favorite movie?
There is a genre of my movie of sci-fi movie. I love watching sci-fi movies.
Sci-fi movies, science movies.
Yeah.
What type of science? What's your favorite sci-fi movie?
Right now it is Avengers and Avengers series.
So which is your favorite Avenger?
My favorite is Hulk.
Hulk. When was the last Hulk movie? They don't have a Hulk movie recently, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't. I haven't watched only Hulk movie. I have watched Avengers movie where Hulk.
So you like Avengers movies?
Yeah. Since I have started learning English, I'm more into learning English movies.
How about Indian movies? We Malaysians love the Hindustan movies.
I don't prefer watching Indian movies because I don't like very much.
There's a lot of brilliant Indian movies.
Yeah.
Ones by Amir Khan especially.
Yeah, I also love watch Amir Khan movies because his movies are related very, mm, you know, uh, what to say?
There's a lot of values.
Yeah, yeah, very yes.
Right? So you don't like those movies? You say you don't like Indian movies?
No, no, it's not that I like, but from special and specific heroes only,
Mm-hmm.
like Amir Khan and SRK.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, thank you, Brother Kutaiba. I think we call you Kutaiba.
Yeah,
Is it
it's
Qaf or Kaf, or
yeah, yeah.
how do you spell it in Arabic?
Uh, Qaf, ta,
Qaf. Qaf.
Qaf,
So
Qaf, ta.
Kutaiba.
Yeah, it's
What
a
is the meaning?
very it's a meaning in English. It's equivalent to small guts which we have in our stomachs. Small guts.
Small guts.
Guts. It's a very famous scholar. I
Mm-hmm.
think you must have heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think whose name is Qutayba ibn Sa'id ibn Jamil
Mm-hmm.
ibn Tarif Raja al-Baghlani,
Mm-hmm.
which who is a teacher of all the famous muhaddisin like Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmizi.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, brother. So we call you Kutaiba, yeah. Are you
Yeah,
in UAE? Are you in
yeah,
Mahla?
yeah, in Mahalla.
Okay. So it's your first time in Malaysia.
This is the first time. Yeah,
Okay. So you just how long have you arrived in Malaysia?
it's been I think 1 month.
1 month. Okay. Okay. So hopefully, inshallah, you can benefit from studying in IBF, inshallah, and we wish you all the best.
Inshallah.
Okay. Thank you, brother. There's also
Thank
brother Sulaiman Mahmud Ibrahim here. Brother Sulaiman, have you introduced yourself? Oh, you're no longer there. Assalamualaikum, brother Sulaiman. How are you, brother Sulaiman? Sulaiman Mahmud Ibrahim. Brother Sulaiman, are you there? Brother Sulaiman? Brother Sulaiman, are you there? Sulaiman Mahmud Ibrahim. Now let me just check.
Yeah, so I'm there. Before I'm not hearing the voice, that's why I'm leaving.
Sorry?
I'm not hearing the voice, that's why I leave. But now
Are you registered in this class?
You said?
Are you registered in this class?
Yeah, it's Mahmoud.
Oh, Mahmoud.
Yeah,
Have
sure.
you introduced yourself already, right?
Yeah, I have introduced myself.
Okay, so I got confused because you have Sulaiman there. So your name is also Sulaiman, or is that your family name?
Yeah, it's family name, Muslim.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Let me just share the screen. I believe I've already shared the slides. Okay, you can see the slides in here. Okay, so for today I was planning to do macroeconomics actually, but when I revise the topic, I think it's also important to learn about utility maximization and consumer behavior, and also a bit of business and cost of production. And so therefore it is still within microeconomics. Okay, so for this week we will still cover the microeconomics aspect, and then inshallah for next week we will continue with macroeconomics. Okay, so you can access the slides here. Okay, before I start the lecture, is there any questions regarding the course so far or the assignments, if you have any? Everyone okay? Okay, so if you have any questions regarding the assignments or anything related to the topic, feel free to contact me. Okay, and then I can give my feedback as well. If you haven't started
Doctor,
yet,
like
yes.
for the elasticity, if we say like supply is elastic, what does that mean?
Depending on what elasticity you're referring to. So usually, if it's price elasticity of supply, is basically if price elasticity of supply is elastic, it means that the quantity of supply would react very much to the change in price. A small change in price will change the quantity that is supplied, will have a high effect on the quantity supplied. You get it?
Yeah.
So if it's elastic, a small change of the price will cause the supplier to change the quantity.
The quantity will
change a lot.
reduce.
So it's elastic. So it depends on the supply curve, depending on the shape. So it can change in the sense that it can be higher or it can be lower, depending on what is the price change. Right? For example, if you look at the perspective of a supplier, right? So you are a business that is selling, right? So if the price of the item that you are selling increase, if the price of the item you're selling increase, as a supplier, what would you do?
You will reduce the quantity.
Why?
Because like the price has risen up.
As a supplier.
The supplier, like I'm the one who's producing, right?
Yeah, you're the one producing, and in the market now, the price of your item is increasing. Okay, so meaning to say, on whatever quantity that you're selling now, the price has increased. So as a supplier, you would supply more because now you can get more profit. Does that make sense?
No.
If you are selling, for example, coffee, right? And now people are willing, you are selling for $10, for example. Okay? And now people are willing to buy coffee, the same coffee that you are selling for $15. Right? So as a person that wants to maximize your profit, what would you do is that you would increase the number of supply because people will now buy at a higher price. So this is assuming that.
But this is when the supply is inelastic, right? Because if it is inelastic, whether the price increases or decreases, the people will buy.
Wait, let's just try to draw it.
Because it's confusing me a little bit.
I think you got some point there. Let me just try to figure this out. So this is price, this is quantity, this is supply. Okay, this is normal supply, right? So let's say in the market, okay, and then this is demand, right? So now the equilibrium price in the market is here, P1, for example, and the quantity that is being supplied is Q1, okay? And then for whatever reason, let's assume that the price has increased to P2. Okay, so if it is elastic, Okay, so maybe it increased to P2 because of the increase in demand. You get it? So this is D1, this is D2. So now price increase to P2. Okay, so if it is elastic, then you would increase your quantity. Okay, so this is compare this to inelastic. Okay, so this is supply, supply. So inelastic supply, the graph would look something like this, or the what you call the slope will be less. So let's say the slope is like this. Okay, and this is the demand, D1, and so it is the same P1, and then same Q1. Okay, but now the price increase. Okay, now the price increase to P2. So let's say this is the same. P2, let's say is 15, P1 is 10. So 10, 15. Okay, but because the supply is inelastic, supply, the change in the quantity is very small. Okay, so here is inelastic because the reaction in terms of the quantity supplied towards the change in price is very small. So this is more elastic. You get it, brother? So
yeah,
if it's elastic, the outcome in terms of the quantity here is wider as compared to inelastic. Right? So in supply, the factor that determines whether it is elastic or inelastic is time. Right? So it's one of the major factors. Right? So for example, you are selling the coffee, right? And then demand goes up. However, because you do not have enough capacity to supply more coffee, you cannot change the quantity much. So in the immediate term, you cannot change the quantity much. And then maybe in the longer term, you can buy a new machine and increase the quantity that you supply, right? And then in the longer term, you can have more workers, you can expand the shop. So then it is more elastic in terms of your supply. But in the immediate term, it is inelastic because you don't have enough time to increase your quantity. You get it?
Yeah, I get it.
So in terms of supply, that is the shape. Okay.
It's different from the demand.
Yeah, demand is different. Demand, there's different factors, but supply, there are different factors. But basically, the elasticity is when it refers to, let me just write it down here. Okay, price elasticity, of, so you can have elasticity of supply, for example. So this basically is what is the effect of price towards the quantity that is supplied. Okay, the effect of price change, this is the symbol, towards quantity of supply. Okay, so depending on the shape of the slope of the supply curve of the line here, it will be either elastic or inelastic. Okay, so similarly, price elasticity of demand is looking at what is the change of price towards the quantity demanded. Okay, so that also has different implications. Okay, depending on the slope. Okay, and then basically the elasticity can be examined either by drawing the graph or by calculating through the formula. right? So the formula, by using the formula, you can know about the elasticity as well. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Does that help? Okay.
Yes. And also, what is the difference between the two formulas, the price elasticity of demand formula and the midpoint?
So I think both formulas are acceptable, but midpoint is more accurate because it eliminates the, I think, the negative. Oh no, it eliminates the percentage. And no, I mean midpoint. Sorry, midpoint. You can compare to other midpoints, so it's more accurate in that sense. If you do the first one, it's hard to compare, I think. Yeah. So the midpoint formula, I think, is recommended to do the midpoint formula to get more accurate illustration of what is the elasticity. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah. So I think they have some questions in the textbook for you to practice that. Okay, so just go through the textbook and hopefully you can get better understanding from there as well. Okay.
Okay, inshallah. Okay.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? Okay, so I'll just continue. Yeah. But anyway, anytime throughout the presentation, feel free to jump in if you have any comments or have any questions. Yeah. Okay, so for today, let me just share the slides. Okay, can you see this? Can you see the slides?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So actually, I thought I can skip this last week, but when I saw actually it's about utility maximization, I think it shouldn't be skipped because it is a fundamental concept in economics. Okay, whereby the concept of utility maximization, okay, is a primary influence of consumer behavior, how we behave. Okay, so for this topic, we'll look at the law of diminishing marginal utility. We'll look at how we make choices, how decisions are being made, and then we'll have some applications. Okay, and then there will be another slide on cost of production. Okay, cost of businesses. Okay, so this first slide is looking at marginal utility first. Okay. Okay, so the law of the fundamental aspect that I think is important for everyone to understand is called the law of diminishing marginal utility. Okay, so what this law says that as you consume, okay, or as you buy or consume, okay, as you buy or consume a good or service, okay, an item or a service, the marginal utility obtained from each additional unit of goods and services decrease. Okay, and basically because of the law of diminishing marginal utility, we have the downward sloping demand curve. So this is demand curve and it goes downward. Okay, so this law basically explains why the demand curve is going downwards. Okay, and we'll go through this in the next few slides. Okay, so it's important to remember here the law of diminishing marginal utility is where consumption increases, the marginal utility from obtaining an additional unit of goods and services decreases. Okay, so the term here is important to understand the term. Okay, when it comes to utility, okay, because it's marginal utility. What is actually utility? Okay, so utility is defined as the satisfaction one gets from consuming a good or service. Okay, so the issue with this definition is basically satisfaction is something that's very subjective. Okay, is very subjective. It's hard to define what is satisfaction. Okay, and it's difficult for us to quantify what is satisfaction. And it's also important to know that satisfaction does not equate to usefulness. Okay, it's not, satisfaction is not usefulness. So sometimes we can get satisfaction without doing or consuming something that is useful. Okay, there are depending on the person, the thing that they consume is not useful, but they can still get satisfaction from it. Okay, so if we look at satisfaction, for example, there are different levels of satisfaction a person can get depending on the preference and the situation that the person is, right? For example, if I consume a pizza, I can get a high satisfaction because I like pizza. However, another person consumes the same pizza, but he doesn't get any satisfaction because he doesn't prefer to eat pizza, or he doesn't like pizza. So in this case, the act of consuming that pizza gives me a high utility. Okay, so the term here is utility. But for the other person, consuming that same pizza doesn't give him as much utility, or maybe it gives him a negative utility because he doesn't like pizza. Okay, so the utility each person gets is different, okay, depending on their preference. Okay, so there is what we call the diminishing marginal utility, whereby the more pizza that I consume, the less satisfaction that I will get. Okay, for the first pizza that I consume, I will get a high utility, but the second slice of pizza, I still get some utility, but not as high as the first one. Okay, and the third pizza I consume, I still get some satisfaction, but not as high as the second and first one. So in this case, the satisfaction that I get from consuming the next pizza is decreasing and decreasing. Okay, so that is where the decreasing marginal utility comes from. Okay, I think there is there's no, I think there's a video that we will watch. Okay, so let me repeat that again. Okay, so the utility is basically the satisfaction, and satisfaction for everyone is different. Okay, and let's say I have a box of pizza. Okay, and I cut it into 8. Okay, and I'm really hungry, for example. Okay, so the first slice of pizza, let's say I put a rating. Okay, I put a rating. The first slice that I consume, I will get 10 points of satisfaction. Okay, and then let's say now I'm still hungry and I eat the second pizza. However, it is not as high as the first pizza in terms of my satisfaction. I will rate it as 8. Okay, and then the third slice of pizza, the utility that I get is 6. However, I'm almost quite full. Okay, but I try to eat the fourth pizza. The utility that I get is maybe only 2. Okay, and then the fifth pizza that I eat doesn't give me any more satisfaction because I'm already full. So there's 0 satisfaction from consuming the fifth slice. And then let's say for the 6th slice, I try to eat it, and when I eat it, it actually gives me negative satisfaction. Okay, so as you can see, the difference here, okay, is basically going lower and lower. So it is diminishing. Okay, diminishing. So the utility that I get from each consumption of pizza is diminishing. Okay, so we go back to the law of diminishing marginal utility. Okay, basically as I consume more, okay, as I consume, the consumption increases, the marginal utility that I obtain from each additional unit decreases. Okay, so basically, if we look at it from another perspective, okay, if I get a high satisfaction from consuming the first slice of pizza, I would be willing to pay a high price for that slice. Okay, so for that first slice of pizza, let's say here, the quantity here, 1 slice, and I am willing to pay 10 for the first slice. Okay, but for the second slice of pizza, okay, for the second slice of pizza, if the price is still 10, I will no longer buy it. Okay, but I will buy the second slice of pizza if the price is 8. Okay, so I will consume the second one. So for the third one, if the price still remains at 8, I wouldn't buy it. But I will buy it if it's at 6. Okay, and so on and so forth until when I no longer get any satisfaction. Okay, let's say I don't want to buy any more pizza. Okay, because if I consume more, it will give me negative satisfaction. But let's say my friend then comes and says, if you eat this pizza that I am giving to you, I will pay you 2, for example. Okay, so instead of me paying, my friend will then pay for me. So I then consume an additional one, even though the satisfaction that I get is negative, right? So this is just a different way of looking at diminishing marginal utility, in the sense that this explains the downward sloping demand curve. Okay, so as more quantity that we consume, okay, we are only willing to consume if the price is falling more and more. Okay, because the earlier ones that we purchase gives us a high utility, but when we already purchase a lot, we will only purchase if the price goes down. Okay, so that explains why the demand curve is downward sloping. Okay. Okay, so and we'll talk about this later. Basically, utility, okay, the diminishing marginal utility is the basis of our decision making when it comes to consumer behavior. Okay, because we will decide how we consume and how we spend our money depending on how we can maximize our utility. Okay, so we will talk about that later when we talk about consumer behavior. Okay, but here, basically, when we want to measure utility, okay, we have the unit of measurement that is called util. Okay, util is 1 unit of satisfaction or pleasure, and total utility is the total amount of satisfaction that we add for each consumption. Okay, and then marginal utility is the extra satisfaction from an additional unit of the good that we consume. Okay, so the extra that we get. Okay, so if you want to calculate marginal utility, you calculate the change in total utility. So the change here is represented by the triangle. So the change in total utility over the change in quantity. Okay, so then you can get the marginal utility. Okay. So let's just see. Let's just watch this video. I think this helps to explain further. Can you hear the voice? Can you hear the sound of the video?
No.
No, let me just share it again. How about now? Now, okay?
No. No, we're not hearing.
Still not hearing? Oh, wait, sorry, I haven't shared it yet. Now, okay?
Yes, now we are hearing.
Okay, so let's just watch this for a while, yeah?
In economics, we spend a lot of time on the basics of supply and demand. For example, if the price of espressos falls, the quantity demanded of espressos increases. This is simply the law of demand at work. Where does this result come from? It comes from all of us, each analyzing the different choices that we have. But how exactly do we choose what to buy? Each day, we face thousands of choices. Let's say you start your morning at Starbucks. You look at their menu and notice they don't just sell espressos. You can buy a grande iced vanilla chai latte, a tall peppermint mocha, or a venti iced skinny hazelnut macchiato. You can ask for sugar-free syrup, an extra shot, light ice, no whip. As absurd as it may seem, they actually offer over 80,000 different combinations of drinks. And that is just drink options at one coffee shop. Each day, your choices are nearly endless. At the grocery store, you're choosing between an orange and a banana. At a coffee shop, an espresso or a peppermint mocha. On your phone, it's a game or music. And at each decision you make, you are, even if you're not aware of it, instinctively thinking at the margin. And this is key. Each good we decide to buy provides us with some value. Economists call this utility, and you may think of it as satisfaction or happiness. And the increase in value or satisfaction from buying an additional good is its marginal utility. So how much more do you enjoy 2 espressos compared to 1? That difference, it's your marginal utility. If you add up the marginal utilities of each espresso, you get your total utility. Goods have diminishing marginal utility. Each additional good brings less utility, less satisfaction than the previous one. Think of how awesome that first espresso is first thing in the morning. When you compare the marginal utility of that first espresso with the price, it's a no-brainer. You get it. Put another way, the benefits of the espresso exceed the cost. The second one, it's maybe okay and gives you enough utility to be worth the price, so you buy it. However, the marginal utility of the second espresso is lower than that of the first. And maybe, if you love espressos, that third one still provides you with enough utility to be worth the price. How about a fourth one? For me, 3 espressos is more than enough. But how about for you? What if the price dropped? Would you buy that 4th espresso? I don't know how much you like espressos, but the utility you get from that 4th espresso, if it's so low that you think it's not worth the price, then no, you won't buy it. There are others who might be induced to buy their 1st or 2nd espresso from the price drop, so the quantity of espressos demanded, it goes up on aggregate. But you didn't change your espresso consumption. This is you thinking and acting at the margin. Of course, prices matter a great deal, but they're not the only thing that determines what you buy. In the next section, we'll tease out several different factors that affect your consumption decisions: prices, preferences, and of course, your income.
Okay, so hopefully that helped to explain the concept further. Okay. Okay, so if we Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, doctor.
Okay.
Yes.
So if we put this concept into numbers here, for example, yeah. If we, let's say, represent this by tacos, okay. So let's say we have 0 tacos, then therefore there's no utility. But when we consume the first taco, okay, the first taco that we eat, we get 10. Marginal utility that we get, the satisfaction that we get is 10. Okay, and then for the second taco, the marginal utility that we get is 8. Okay, so the total utility that we get is 18. Okay, 10 plus 8 is 18 from the first and second taco that we consume. The third taco, we get a total utility of 24. Okay, so therefore we can calculate that the marginal utility is 6. Okay, so 6, and then the next one is 4, next one is 2, and then however when we reach the 5th taco, okay, if we want to consume the 6th taco, we will get 0 satisfaction, and when we eat the 7th taco, we will get a negative satisfaction. Okay, so if we chart this, total utility and also marginal utility, you will see that marginal utility is downward sloping and the total utility is going up, but there will be a point that our total utility will be at the maximum. Okay, so here is usually the maximum that we will consume. Okay, in terms of the total satisfaction that we get, this is where usually the assumption is that if you are a rational consumer, this is where you will end up the total amount that you will consume. And if you map it to the marginal utility here, okay, so basically you wouldn't go further towards the 6th one. Okay, so you will stop at number 5, and that is the most maximum that you will consume. Okay, so for a consumer, okay, they will always try to maximize their utility given the choice that they have. So basically you will always consume 5 tacos, okay, because that will give you the highest satisfaction, which is 30. Okay, so you can maybe try to apply this when you eat pizza. Okay, when you have a box of pizza, how many pizzas will you consume? How many slices will you consume? And maybe the point that you stop consuming is actually the most efficient or the most maximum utility that you can get. Okay, so if you consume more pizza, then your satisfaction will no longer be positive, but perhaps will be negative. Okay, so that's basically an illustration in the form of a graph for marginal utility. Okay, so basically, okay, this diminishing marginal utility, okay, is very much related to the theory of consumer behavior. Okay, the theory of consumer behavior. So the consumer behavior basically says that from the conventional perspective, right, is that we would always act rationally. Okay, because we assume that the consumer tries to use our money or income to derive the greatest satisfaction from it. So if we have, let's say everyone has 1,000, okay, everyone in this class has 1,000, and depending on our preference, we would buy maybe different things, okay, but the different things that we will buy will basically, the choice that we make are the choices that will give us the most highest satisfaction, okay, given the preference and income that we have. Okay, so this decision that we make, okay, basically is dependent on, number one, the preference that we have. Okay. Number two, what is our budget? Okay, so of course, if let's say everyone has 1,000, they will spend depending on preference. But let's say one person has, instead of 1,000, he has 10,000. Okay, so in that case, he will maybe spend differently. Okay. So the budget also plays a significant role. And then thirdly is, what is the price of the good that they are choosing from. Okay, so this is the three main factors that will determine our spending behavior or consumption behavior. And this is basically assuming that we are rational to try to get the most maximum utility from our spending. Okay, so for example, let's say let's try to ask everyone. Yeah, brother Diallo.
Yes, doctor.
So let's say you are given 10 ringgit, and then I ask you to buy food at the mahallah for iftar. What would you buy?
Mandi.
Mandi. Why mandi?
Because of all the foods that are there, I prefer it.
So that gives you the highest satisfaction.
Yeah.
Based on the budget that you have, right? So your preference is the mandi. Right. So for me,
yes.
maybe I will buy a shawarma. Right?
Yes.
So because that gives me a higher satisfaction. Okay. So that basically our behavior of spending and choosing is rational. So the assumption is that we are rationally choosing, making the choice of consumption, depending on what is the thing that can give us the most maximum utility. Okay, so if I ask different people, maybe they will buy different things. Okay, so this is also, okay, very much tied to the utility maximizing rule. Okay, utility maximizing rule, where the consumer would allocate his or her income so that the last dollar spent on each product yields the same amount of extra marginal utility. Okay, so the formula here, okay, algebraically, okay, is the marginal utility of product A over price of A, marginal utility of product B over price of B. So this is where it gets a bit more complicated. Okay, whereby we have to choose, like just now, me and brother Diallo just choose one item. So if we have a higher budget and we have to choose maybe two items, okay, so that is where the law comes in. Okay, the utility maximizing rule comes in, and this is basically determining how we decide to spend our money. Okay, so let's try to look at the example here. Okay, so let's say, okay, let's assume we have an income or a budget of 10. Okay, we have an income or budget of 10, and we want to buy apples and oranges. Okay, we want to buy apples and oranges. So the question is, how many apples do we buy? How many oranges do we buy? What is the quantity? Okay, so the apple basically gives us one apple. Okay, sorry, one apple is priced at $1. Okay, one orange is priced at $2. Okay, but if we only look at the price, of course we will buy the apples only, because we can get 10 apples instead of five oranges. Okay, however, when we look at the satisfaction that we get, which is the utility, our decision will be different. Although the price is of apple and orange is different, but depending on the utility that they can give to us, then we will see that actually there is a different decision that we will make. Okay, so here, okay, if we look at the column here, okay, apple, and the column here, orange. Yeah, so the price is 1 for apple, for orange is 2. Okay, so we have a budget of 10. Okay, so let's say the first apple that we consume will give us the marginal utility of 10. However, the first orange that we consume will give us a marginal utility of 24. Okay, so although the price of orange is higher or twice the price, it gives us more than twice the utility of consuming the apple. Okay, so it's hard to compare because the price is different and the utility is different. So in order for us to better compare between the apple and oranges, what we can do is we change it into marginal utility per dollar. Okay, so then we can compare the apple and oranges more fairly. Okay, so for the first orange, okay, if we calculate the marginal utility per dollar, is basically 24 over 2. Okay, 24 divided by 2, then you get 12. Okay, so then it's much easier to compare per dollar how much satisfaction that I get of consuming apple and how much satisfaction that I can get of consuming orange, right? So per dollar, the first orange that I can consume will give me 12. Okay, so then compared to the apple is only 10. Okay, so and then of course here it is listed what is the marginal utility when they consume the second apple, the third apple, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. Okay, and then similarly, what is the marginal utility if I consume second? Okay, so it's fairer if I to use this one. Okay, so to compare, I have to use this one. Okay, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh orange. So this is the marginal utility. Okay, so this is just a table that shows the utility per dollar. Okay, the marginal utility per dollar. Okay, so now this is what we will implicitly do in our minds in terms of the decision-making process of a rational consumer behavior. Okay, so if you have a budget of 10, okay, you have to make choices. Do you buy the apple or do you buy the orange? Okay, so the first choice that you make, okay, choice number 1 here, the potential choice is, do I buy my first apple or the first orange? Okay, so then in order to know what you decide is based on the utility maximizing behavior. Okay, so when you compare the marginal utility per dollar, the apple gives us 10, but the orange gives us 12. Okay, so when you compare, basically orange gives us a higher satisfaction. Okay, so the decision that we make as a rational consumer, we will first buy one orange. Okay, so the price of one orange is 2, and therefore 10 minus 2, the remaining income that we have is 8. Okay, so now we have to make the second choice. Do we buy our second orange or do we buy our first apple? Okay, and then it turns out the marginal utility for both is the same, so we will then buy the first apple and the second orange. Okay, and basically the remaining 8 that we had, minus 1 for the apple and 2 for the orange. Okay, 8 minus 3, there will be remaining 5. Okay, and then with that money we will then make our third choice. Do we buy apple or do we buy orange? So we compare the marginal utility, and therefore we will buy our third orange. Okay, so we minus some more and we will remain 3. And then the fourth choice, whether to buy apple or orange, the marginal utility is the same, so we buy the second apple and the fourth orange. And then finally we no longer have any income remaining. Okay, so overall what we'll do is, based on the budget of 10 and the utility that we have for apples and oranges, okay, basically we will buy 2 apples and 4 oranges. okay, based on our budget that we have. So although the price of apple is $1 and the price of orange is $2, the utility is different, okay. And based on the marginal utility, this is our decision-making process, and based on the decision-making process, we will end up buying 2 apples and 4 oranges, okay. So either implicitly or explicitly, this is basically what we encounter every day. This is our decision-making process every day. If we stop to think about how we spend our money, maybe then we can also do this exercise, okay. So this is just to show that the decision that we make can be calculated based on our utility and the income that we have, okay. Yeah, so this is just representing the downward sloping curve, okay. So basically, the lower the price, then the higher the quantity that we will demand because of the diminishing marginal utility, okay, as I mentioned just now, okay. So there is also what we call the income and substitutions effect. So this will also affect the consumer, okay, towards consumer behavior, okay. So for example, if we look at the income effect, okay, so this is basically looking at the impact of price changes that it has on consumers' real income, okay. So if our income is, let's say, the same 1,000, but and we are consuming 10 apples for example, okay, and each apple is $1, so we pay 10, okay. So now let's say the price falls, instead of $1 per apple, now it is only $0.5, okay, 50 cents. So what happens is that our income is now stronger, okay. So when our income is stronger, we will then buy more. So because we have already allocated 10 for apples, okay, so we have already allocated 10 for apples. So now when the price falls, we will now buy 20 apples, okay. So then if we look at this, basically it also explains the downward sloping curve of the demand, okay, demand curve, okay. So this is what happens if to income if price falls. So you have more spending power, okay. So your income can buy more when price falls, okay. And then secondly, there's also the substitution effect, okay. So the substitution effect is where the impact a price change has on a product's relative expensiveness. So this is where, for example, if you have similar products, okay, let's say you have toothpaste, right? Toothpaste. So the toothpaste is similar, and basically you are purchasing toothpaste A, okay, and both are actually the same, almost the same in terms of the quality and the taste, for example. And toothpaste A is $5, toothpaste B is $5. Okay, so you like toothpaste A. However, let's say now the price of toothpaste B goes down, instead of $5, now is $3. Okay, so this will then affect your demand for A. So it will affect your demand for A. Okay, because now the price of A substitute has gone down. Maybe you will no longer purchase A, but you will shift to B. Okay, so your demand for A will shift because of the substitution effect. Okay, so this is also utility maximizing behavior, because you can get more utility per dollar by buying B instead of buying A. So this is also a rational behavior. Okay. Yeah, so there's some applications here of the concept. So basically, for example, when the iPad first came, it was very popular, and basically the demand for the iPad, you can argue, is because people were getting a high satisfaction from purchasing it. Okay, especially when it comes to new technologies, people will be willing to pay a high price for new technologies that can give them high satisfaction. Okay, so the people that are purchasing it basically are acting in a rational behavior because they can get the utility from it. Okay, and then another example here, the second part here, where the question that is being posed here: why are goods that are essential to life much cheaper than non-essential goods? Okay, so this is related to the diamond water paradox. Okay, so basically this paradox, okay, is where water is very important. Okay, it is important, okay, and essential, because if we don't have water, then we will die, right? So the issue with this paradox is that we are paying very, very low when it comes to the price of water. Okay, water compared to diamonds is very low. Okay, so let's say the diamond price is 1,000, but water we only pay $1 for 1 liter. Okay, one diamond we pay 1,000. Okay, let's try to ask your thoughts on this. Let's see, let me just write down your names. There's this website here where we can randomly call your names. Sorry, it's not lie. Yeah, Sundus. Are you there, Sundus?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay, so can you explain why is the price of diamond high as compared to water? Is there a reason for it?
Because it has a low elasticity of demand.
What has low elasticity? Why do you? What is a? Do you have a diamond? Do you have a diamond ring?
They are relatively.
You have a diamond ring? So why did you pay so high for the diamond ring as compared to water? Although water is more essential.
What is it inelastic?
This is not related. It is some relation, but we are talking now on the concept of utility. Can you explain why diamond price is high and you still buy it? But in actual fact, the water is essential. You need water more than diamond.
I cannot explain it.
Okay. Okay, well, let's try to ask someone else. Okay, let's try. It's okay, Sundus. Hopefully we can get some understanding on this later. Yeah, you're lucky again. Munira. Sister Munira, are you there? Can you explain why the price of diamonds are higher than water, although water is essential and diamonds are not?
Maybe because if we purchase diamonds, we will get higher satisfaction.
As compared to water.
Yes, and also the supply of diamond is that much.
Water is the quantity of water that is available is much higher, right?
Yes.
So okay, that's a very good point. Okay, so in the event, for example, if you are stuck in the desert, right, and with you have like $10,000, okay, and then someone comes to you and then they say, I have a bottle of water and I have a diamond ring. Okay, so of course we will choose to spend that $10,000 for the bottle of water, because it is very much that will give us the highest utility. Okay, so depending on the situation, we will choose to spend our income on the item that will give us the highest utility, okay, the highest return for us. Okay, so in normal situations, like Munira mentioned, we have a lot of water, and each consumption of water, the marginal consumption of water, gives us a low utility, as compared to just one purchase of diamond will give us a high utility. Okay, so therefore, although water is essential, the diamond is much more expensive. Okay, although the water is essential, the price of water is much cheaper than diamonds, because the marginal utility of consuming the water is lower. Okay, so that is in normal situation. But in the situation where you are stuck in the desert, for example, and you are very thirsty, and you have 10,000 with you, someone comes and says, I have a diamond worth 10,000, or a bottle of water, I can sell it to you for 10,000. Okay, so you will, of course, be willing to spend that 10,000 on that bottle of water. Okay, because it will give you the higher utility, right? So, but in normal circumstances, this is what we call the diamond water diamond paradox. Okay, so the water diamond paradox is where, in normal circumstances, the one consumption of diamond will give us a higher utility than one purchase of water. So therefore, we are willing to pay more for the diamond. Okay, although it is not essential for our life. Okay, yeah. So hopefully that can help you to understand utility. Okay, through that water diamond paradox. Okay, and then we have the next example, is where we have the opportunity cost and time. Okay, so sometimes if we look at, for example, people who have high skills, okay, people who have high skills, like for example doctors. Okay, so doctors, they have high skills, especially specialists, right? So specialists, the more specialized you are and the more high skill you are, you will have to pay more for his time. Okay, and because basically the doctor wouldn't want to waste his utility if he is not paid enough, right? So he doesn't want to waste time on a person that pays him very low. So therefore, he will see a person that is willing to pay him more. Okay, so therefore, the utility that he can get is by maximizing the fees. Okay, so if you want to see a specialist, you have to pay more to see him, because his time and opportunity cost is very high. Okay, so that's another application. The other application here is in terms of the insurance. that we purchase. Okay, so maybe during the time that we purchase it, we do not get the marginal utility from it. Okay, however, we can get the utility if the insurance is being realized. Okay, so the issue is that many people do not see the effects of insurance when they pay for it. Okay, so therefore they will not purchase it early on, okay, because they do not get the utility immediately. Okay, so if only they realize the utility that they get once the insurance kicks into place, then they will make the decision to purchase it. Okay, but if they do not realize what is the benefit, then most people wouldn't buy the insurance. Okay, so therefore it would depend on whether or not they realize the utility or the importance once the accident happens, for example. Okay, so that's another application of utility. And then finally, in terms of cash and non-cash gifts. Okay, so some people prefer to get cash as a gift because that can give him a high utility, because he can spend the money on the item that can give him the highest utility. Okay, this is compared to he receives a gift but he doesn't really like the gift, so the utility that he gets from the non-cash gift is actually very low, so he would prefer to get the money instead. Okay, so that's also another application of utility. Okay, and then finally, in terms of criminal behavior, is also related to utility. Okay, so basically, if we look at it, the criminal also attempts to maximize his or her total utility, and usually he will compare the marginal benefit and the marginal cost of doing the crime. Okay, so most people would find the cost of doing the crime too high, the cost to his livelihood, the cost to his life if he gets caught, goes to prison, right? The cost to the destruction of the property, the society. So most people will find it high. Okay, but some people, they think the benefit that if he does it is much higher, so therefore can give him a higher utility, and therefore he will proceed with the crime. Okay, but for others, you would impose additional costs, okay, such as fines and imprisonment, to increase the cost of doing the crime, and therefore reduce the probability of people maximizing their utility by doing the crime. Okay, so you have to increase the cost of crime. So this is related as well to the concept of utility and behavior. Okay,
Doctor, is the criminal behavior also rational?
If he can maximize his utility based on the rational theory, yes, it is rational. It is applicable to him. Okay, because he basically maximizes his utility by undertaking that behavior. So depending, so based on the theory, everyone will try to maximize their behavior. Everyone will try to maximize their utility, okay, including a person that does a crime. Okay, so he does the crime because he thinks that this can give him the highest satisfaction or highest return. Okay, but of course the perception may be different from the reality. So when he did the crime, maybe he thinks that he will give him satisfaction or maximize return. However, once the crime is being done and when he is caught, then he knows the actual cost. Okay, so then he would think that, oh, what I did maybe during that time is rational, but after you see the effects or the consequence, actually my behavior was not rational. Okay, but when he did it during that time, he already maybe weighed the cost and benefit, and he proceed with the crime. Okay, so based on the theory, it is rational for him to do it. Okay, when he already went through the process here. Okay, compare the cost and benefit. Okay. Any other questions before we move to the next? Okay. Actually, I think we just cover this topic. I think it should be sufficient. Just see, because the next topic is about producer behavior, but it is related to marginal as well, but it's more of marginal returns. Tell you what, I think I'll skip the next one. I'll skip the next slide. But if you're interested, you can still go through it. But basically, I think I'm not going to cover the next topic for this semester. Okay. So we just focus on the consumer behavior. Okay. Any questions? So I think that's it for today. Okay. If you still don't understand, hopefully you can go through the textbook and read through it and do some exercises on it. And there's a lot of videos online that can also help to explain the concept of marginal utility. So I think the emphasis for today is marginal utility, because it is a very, very important principle in economics. Okay, marginal utility. Okay, any other questions related to the topic? Okay, so usually maybe there will be a few questions during the final assessment related to marginal utility. So hopefully you prepare for that as well. And I think all of you have to prepare that there is a possibility that the exam will be done physically, face to face. So you have to come to the campus to do the exam. Okay, so I think that's the direction that has been provided by the university management, where we will start to move towards physical. But for IBF, we will do classes hybrid, but the exam will be physical. Okay, so if you are outside of Malaysia, hopefully you prepare to come before the final exam. Okay. Okay.
Doctor, you forgot to upload the example of the assignment.
Sorry?
You forgot to upload the example of the assignment.
Oh, okay. Let me do it now. Thank you for reminding. So the assignment, I forgot what's the assignment.
The article review.
Okay, so I'll upload it now. I already asked the consent from the students, but I forgot to upload. So this was from the previous students, yeah. Article review. Let me just check. Okay, so for article review, there's two examples, yeah. Okay. Class material. Okay, so this is for the article review. And then there's a term paper. Can't find it. Wait. I'll upload the second one later. I'm trying to find the previous one, but here this is article review, okay, from 2 students, so you can see how they do it. So basically they are among the best article reviews, okay, so it's a benchmark for you, and you can see the ways that they do it, and I'll upload the others later, inshallah, when I find it. Okay, so you have 2 assignments, okay, the critical review of article, and then the socio-economic impact. Okay, and I'll upload this example as well. Okay, inshallah.
Doctor, the social economic impact is it's not a review, right?
No, that's not a review. But it's kind of a yeah, it's not a review of an article, but you have to review the reports that have already been done. Because if you Google socio-economic impact of a country, there's a lot of reports already in existence, right? So if you take for Malaysia, for example, the socio-economic impact of COVID-19 in Malaysia, there's a lot. Actually, there's one more. Let's try to see. Socio-economic. Okay, there's the international ILO, there's the ISIS Malaysia. So here's already from international labor, from ISIS already here. Okay, so basically your task is to go through these reports, okay, based on the country that you select, okay, and summarize from your own perspective and using your own words what is the socio-economic impact of COVID and what are the policy responses that has been undertaken, and then provide some personal or your own thoughts on this as well. Okay, for example, so here's another one. Okay, so this is my report. This is what I did for a German organization. They asked me to do a report on the socio-economic impact. So you can see my report here as well. So for Malaysia, there's a lot of reports already on this. So your task is to go through the reports and summarize and add whatever you think is relevant from your own critical thinking. Okay, so that's the additional points that I think I will seek to give. Okay, is that clear? So basically choose one country, see what is the effect, and see what was the economic response. Okay, so if you choose to do Malaysia, you can refer to my report as well. My report is only around 46 pages, so it's okay. But if you look at International Labour Organization, is 100 for ISIS. This is different ISIS. This is Institute of Strategic and International
So
Studies.
we have to read all of it.
Depends on which one you want to read. So if you choose your country, for example, there's a lot, of course, there's a lot. So how do you write it in your own words? Okay, so you have to be aware. Okay, so your first task is to choose the country. Okay, for example, if you choose, which country are you from, brother?
I'm from Guinea.
Yeah, so let's say you choose Guinea. What is the socio-economic impact in Guinea, and how did the government respond in terms of monetary policy, in terms of fiscal policy, right? So what did the government do? So then you analyze, okay, this is what the government did, but however, there are a lot of things that actually the government didn't do, right? So then you can add your own thoughts, okay, because you list down what the government did, but then you say actually the government should have done better. For example, they should have provided more cash transfer to the poor people, for example, or they should have increased the healthcare coverage, for example. So then you provide your own critical thoughts on what the government didn't do, right? Or what the government could have done better. And then you can provide an example. Okay, because this country can do it, why can't our country do it? Right, so maybe there needs to be some reform in terms of the healthcare system, reform of the economic system, in order for us to prepare better if there is another crisis. Right? You understand, brother? So that's how
I get it.
That's how you write. That's how you write the critical thinking part. So you add what is not there in the reports. Okay.
Okay.
So anyone else have any questions? I'll try to find the assignment. Yes.
Yeah. Regarding the article, I've sent it.
You send. Is it? Did you email me?
Yeah.
Okay, because I have a lot of other courses that also have article review. So remember to put the name of the subject.
Yeah, I put the name.
Yeah, up to you. You can use this. If you, no, sorry. For this assignment, let me just see this. See, okay. For this subject, the article that you choose is from a newspaper or a magazine. Okay, so it's not an academic article. You understand? It is from a newspaper or a magazine. For example, let's see. Economic news. This one has to pay. So this is an article from a newspaper or magazine or website. Okay, so the one that you send, this one,
yeah,
this is an academic article. Okay, so this is not the one that I want you to analyze. Okay, yeah, it's not, you don't critically analyze this article. So this is academic article. So what I want you guys to analyze is read a newspaper article or a website article that is related to economics, right? So you see here, select an article from a newspaper or a magazine that discusses an economic related issue or event in 2020 and 2022. Okay, so then you highlight what is the economic concept. Okay, so for example here, it's about domestic market. So domestic market is about consumption, behavior, and then aggregate demand, for example. So then you go through the article and see what is the economic concept that they mentioned.
But I find it in a journal of economics.
Yeah. So that is not the one that I want you to do.
Okay.
You select an article from a newspaper or a magazine or a website. Okay, or website.
If I select, I send it, right?
Yeah, you can share with me the link, and then remember to attach the soft copy of the article as well.
Okay.
Okay, so if you find, let's say you read a newspaper and you find an interesting article, you can take a picture or you can find it in the website and save it. Okay, is that clear? So it's not a journal article. I don't want you to analyze a journal article. I want you to analyze these normal articles that you see every day. Okay, for even here, for example, yeah, the Star. So this is one of the newspapers in Malaysia. So they say we need Chinese tourists. Why? Because of the tourism. So you then relate it to the economic concept. So the economic concept may be in terms of supply and demand, and then GDP, for example.
I get it.
But the economic concept has to be from what we have discussed, like for example, elasticity and demand and supply. Or we can, it just has to be related to economic concepts, even if we have not discussed them.
Even if you haven't discussed it, yes, you can. Yeah, so that shows that you're learning outside of class as well, and that's very much encouraged. Okay, so if you want to include other concepts that you haven't we haven't covered in class, or we are not going to cover in class, you can include that as well. Okay, so but I think the essential topics under principles of economics, I think it should be covered during the class, inshallah. Okay, so you can see the course outline and what are the topics that are covered. Okay, is that clear on this assignment? Okay, so you can see the
clear.
You can see the examples that I provided. Yeah, so see class material example. How did they do it? Okay, for example, Rahman here. So he provide the link. So the article review is palm oil. Okay, and then he examines. Okay, what is the economic concept? Decrease in palm oil supply, increase in palm oil supply, decrease in supply of alternative goods. Okay, and then he explained. Okay, what is the relation, and then what is his proposal? Okay, get it? Okay.
Yes,
anything else? Okay, clear. So you can share, if you have some doubts, you can share the link with me so I can check first whether it is okay or not. Okay, but basically it's not academic article, but just normal article that you can see. Okay, so you can find it from The Economist, you can find it from Bloomberg, from newspapers, your local newspaper from your country, right? So it's up to you. Okay, but it's not an academic article. Okay, if there's no more questions or anything else, we can end the class. Yeah, let's end the class with tasbih kifarah and Surah Al-Asr. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Okay, so thank you very much everyone. So I wish you all a Ramadan Mubarak, and may Allah accept all our deeds, inshallah. Okay, so basically the topic 6 is not covered. So next week I will cover macroeconomics. Okay.
Yeah, and Doctor, when is the deadline for submitting?
I think it's there. You can see, you can check Microsoft Teams, go to assignment.
Okay.
But you should start early on, because later, yeah, so this is May, April, May. So you have 2 months. So because usually by the end of the semester, you will be overwhelmed with so many other subjects as well. And all the subjects will have more or less the same due date. So I intentionally put the due dates for your assignments early, so you can focus on this assignment first and then try to do it. So if you haven't started yet, just try to write down something, okay? And then try to apply the concepts that we have learned so far. And then just start early on so you can get the rhythm going. Okay, because now there's not much assignments that you is due, but once you open and focus on this, and then you can focus on other assignments later on. Okay, so I put it here, May 30th of May. Okay, for the due date for both. Okay, so I think for this one you can start already, the socio-economic impact. Okay, because this one is not about not so much about the concepts that we learn in class. Okay, so you can start reading on the reports already. Okay. Clear? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.